A certain element of trust is helpful to you. Just an expectation that things really are going my way, that things really are working out for me. No matter how it looks in any moment in time, my trend is mostly satisfying. It is. Your lives are mostly satisfying just because the sun comes up every morning. That ought to be enough, you greedy buggers. The earth keeps spinning in its orbit. That's huge. When you compare that to everything else on your list, get over it. There's so much to be satisfied. Your economy, the movement of dollars, the way your resources move around, your access to food and well-being. In other words, there is so much going so well for so many. So if you just step back far enough to remember that and let that be your basis, whether you're thinking globally or nationally or even personally, as many things as you might have to worry about or to complain about, there's way more that you could be satisfied. It's funny because, not really funny, it's funny. You're not laughing, but it's so funny. It's funny. It's funny. People say, well, how will I know? And we say, well, you'll feel good. And it's funny to us that we have to explain that the reason your guidance system works is because it feels good to feel good. That's why you want to do it. It feels good to feel good. So it's like the very thing that your guidance is feels good. Feels good. Oh, well, then I'll do it. If it'll get me to where I want to be, then I'll do it. Well, yeah, but in the meantime, you'll feel really good. Well, all right, as long as I get to where I'm going. But you'll feel good. You'll feel good. I heard you the first time. I acknowledge I will feel good. If I get into the receiving mode, I will feel good. But then I'll get what I want. We say, you're always in some point of manifestation. Why not just decide that your intention, your goal, is to feel good? That's what you're here for the joy, for feeling good. And life is demonstrating to you all day long what your vibrational mix is. What a lovely gift that is. Because you want to know what your mix is, don't you? So your emotions will tell you, or let's say something different. My sensitivity to my emotions could be better. I could be more sensitive to my emotions so I could catch it in the earlier subtle stages. You know how you do that? When you spend time every day, 15 or 20 minutes is enough. When you spend time in meditation so that you acknowledge what the receptive mode feels like, then the more aware and alert you are to that sensation, the more less satisfying emotions will stick out like sore thumbs, and you'll catch them in the earlier stages. So say to yourself, I'm going to sit for 15 or 20 minutes, not more, and reach for a place of satisfaction. Just a place of satisfaction. Everything that we're talking about here today is about you tuning yourself so that you consciously know what satisfaction feels like. If you're not really aware of what it feels like to be satisfied, you might find yourself in a conversation that is unsatisfying and maybe not even notice it. And sometimes it's a subject that just has a lot of momentum, so it feels normal. It feels normal and justified and practical, and you're really going to like this. We've been saying it for years, but not like this. You're always under the influence. Did you hear us say that? It's just going to make you some bumper stickers. Under the influence. You'll see a lot of policemen by the side of the road. Under the influence. So you're always under the influence of something. So let's say that you haven't been really paying attention and you've rendezvoused with some people and they're not particularly satisfied. In fact, they might even be complaining or noticing something in life, commenting on something that's happening globally or nationally or in the community or in their own life experience. And as they begin to talk about it and you begin to listen, you fall under their influence. Because you're always under the influence of something. Just like if you're in your car and your radio's on, it's set on some station. You're tuned to something. What is it? So let's say in this example that you're not under the influence of pure positive energy. You're not tuned in, tapped in, turned on, but you're tuned to something that is less satisfying. And as you're tuned to something that is less satisfying, you might even finally become aware of it, but you're already tuned there It's hard in the moment to change the station, to change the frequency. And so we want to say it's more about what you prepare in advance and how well you maintain it than it is life coming at you and you having a knee-jerk response to it and then trying to pivot away from your knee-jerk response. That's really the hard way to go about it. And we're going to say something to you. We love you so much. You know what's coming next. Most of you are under the influence of people who are around you because they're vivid, they're alive, you're translating them through your physical senses. They're real, and they're talking, and they've got opinions, and they're entertaining, and they're coming at you all the time. So it's not an easy thing when you're in this world observing what's going on to tend to your own vibration. You have to do it on purpose. You have to know what satisfaction feels like and what dissatisfaction feels like, and you have to care about which one you're in, and then you have to practice satisfaction until under any and all conditions you can feel satisfied. Sometimes there are issues that are just big, and no matter how practiced you are at alignment, you might know, when I focus there, it's going to take me from my alignment. And we would not make that sacrifice. We've been saying for a long time that we would rather see you in a state of appreciation than in a state of meditation. Because you can't meditate all the time. You want to be out in the world collecting data. And further, this is an important thing also. We said to you, step 1 is ask. Contrast helps you do that. Step 2 is source answers. That's not your work. Step 3 is to want to feel good and get in the receptive mode. That really is your dominant work. Step 4 is being really good at that. Odd that we would make step 4 just being really good at step 3. We thought it was worth it. Just get really good at it. And step 5 is life has come at you. You're living in the real world. You see something that you don't like and you feel the negative emotion. But even though you feel the negative emotion, you're really not mad at yourself because you know this new experience and new contrast and new territory is what's causing you to give birth to a new desire. And that's the expansion that you are eternally always going to be about. So we're not for a moment trying to talk you out of never having negative emotion. We just want you to know what it means. We want you to manage it. We want you to realize that negative emotion means that I'm not vibrating as resistance-free as I could, and I mean to do something about it, and then do as much as you can right then and there if you can. But most of all, don't struggle and strain against it. Sometimes a situation happens and it's so big that when you focus on it, it's taken you down. You just have to change the subject. You have to just let that subject wither from lack of attention. Even if it's your kid. One mother said to us one time, well, my child will just feel betrayed if I follow your advice. And we said, we're not asking you to betray your child. We're asking you to focus upon the best aspects of him. That's far from betrayal. That's soothing and uplifting and teaching and enlightening. All of your creations are like your children, and sometimes the aspects of them that are not satisfying, you just have to let them go for now. Not because they're not worthy of your attention, but because the activeness of their vibration, the gravitational pull, the inertia, the momentum of them is such that you just can't get a handle on them, and this isn't the time to do it. The time to do it is to regroup and gather all your resources. And when you are in the receiving mode, your leverage that comes from that alignment, it's massive. The leverage of alignment, the power of alignment is huge. It's worth going for. So let's talk about the ground that we've covered here. It sounds simplistic to say it really is simple as being satisfied rather than dissatisfied. But aren't you really getting how turning of your mind in that way will cause you to maybe be there more? And won't that change your point of attraction? And won't then the new manifestations that you are witnessing be evidence of the change? And then won't it be more easy for you to now believe in that? You see what we're getting at? We're not asking you to dig up your beliefs and change them. We're asking you to just bridge them and let old unhelpful beliefs just dwindle away while you accentuate the beliefs that are really serving you. By allowing your connection, and therefore your impulses, to let you be influenced by your inner being, who is in the process of gathering the cooperative components, you being one of them in this case. And so what we were talking about the universe surprising and delighting you, because sometimes things you think you wouldn't choose are the base points of launching you into things you really would choose. Before you can know these things, before you can tell how close you are to a manifestation, wanted or unwanted, you have to understand what the emotional guidance signs are. So you have to get in touch with how you feel before you will have any way of knowing. And that's why we're encouraging meditating and therefore practicing the receiving mode, and even further practicing acknowledging when you feel satisfied and when you don't. Because then you can gauge what your degree of dissatisfaction is, the degree of it and how often it is, or your degree of satisfaction and how often it is. You can pretty much tell from moods. As you know other people, don't you often, as it regards other people, see things happening in their life, and aren't you able, if you know them well, aren't you able to acknowledge, well, that's about right? Or don't you hear yourself saying things like, well, that was easy to see coming? It's like that. If you feel strong negative emotion about something, don't move forward. That's just really good advice. Because if you have strong negative emotion, that means you're not in a good vibrational place. It means you're certainly not in the receiving mode of what you do want. It means you're more likely in the receiving mode of what you don't want. So if it's really strong, then don't move in the direction of it. These days, while we still are saying that, we're offering you a little more subtle guidance by asking you to train yourself to understand what your guidance is telling you. All the time. It happens really often. You'll be, for example, driving in traffic, and there is potential for many different things, wanted and unwanted, to happen around you. And if you're not fixated on it and worried about it, and you're in a good mood, being in a good mood meaning being in the receiving mode, being in the receiving mode meaning being able to receive some impulses from your inner being, you'll feel impulses to do things that will keep you in the path of least resistance. Some years ago, specifically to that topic, Jerry and Esther were in San Francisco, and they were leaving the city. And they were staying south of the city, out sort of near the airport. And Esther was driving. Jerry usually navigated. It may have been before they were familiar with the navigational systems. But as Esther got onto the freeway 101, instead of going south, she went north accidentally. And when Jerry realized it, he said, well, I guess we can just settle in here because this is going to be a long ride across that long bridge. In other words, they were going in the wrong direction, and there was not anything they could do about it. And Esther was apologetic. She felt bad that she'd made this mistake. They were already tired. It was late at night, and this was going to cost them at least an extra hour by Jerry's approximation. And when they got back to where they were, there was like a 99 car pileup that, timing-wise, they may have very well been right in the middle of. So Esther's mistake kept them from being in the middle of all of that. And so when you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and you're not so ready to call what looked like a mistake, but instead you're in a satisfied attitude, saying things are always working out for me, and so now we'll get to see some things that we maybe weren't going to see before, and you make the best of things, maybe the worst of things. What happens is, as thoughts are becoming things, there was a vortex that was brewing, and that was already in the works even before it had happened. Even before it had happened. And everyone in the vicinity had a vibrational, approximate vicinity, had a relationship with it.